Order partially filled. Order filled.
Okay. Lots of volatility. It's looking very messy. Yeah, this is usually pretty bearish. When things are a little scattered like this. But it's also like pretty hard to short a stock that's down 7% with unknown news. So yeah, I like to short stuff as it falls. I don't like to. I'd rather not fight it on the way up if I can help it. But this doesn't look. This looks pretty unhealthy. So I think this is probably a decent time to short some more. But
Order partially filled.
these stocks have been very hard to trade, right? Yeah, SMCI, I covered my short. It's just obviously wrong on that one. And you just gotta, it's like unbelievable. You know what, I'll short some now. It's kind of stupid. Murdering the shorts, so this will come in there.
Order filled.
This, I was saying last week, all the stock gives you get a lot of chances with SMCI to make some money. Obviously, that's not been the case. It's been largely straight line up, but short some now, see what happens. I don't know much about Kohl's, sorry. I've never actually been into Kohl's either. I worked at funds that traded Kohl's quite a lot. All I know is it's kind of a department store basically.
Order partially filled.
We're getting the rally here, but I think at some point this rally will fail. So I'm starting to short some more. Suppressing GME? Oh man. Stop suppressing. Could you imagine if hedge funds could suppress a stock? I was looking at, I did this analysis, this big Python script, downloaded every 13F for the last year, okay? And what percentage of the market do you think hedge funds are? I don't know much about ACHR. $8, 10%, 3%. Yeah, chat's right. It's roughly 5%. Jax, you gotta, it depends on how you look at it, but yeah, about 5%. 5% of the market can't suppress a stock. Look, the whole market's institutions. I mean, that's obvious. But, 95% of those institutions don't short. Now, the biggest players in the market are the index funds, by far. And some of the mutual funds like Fidelity.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
The dash to trash.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
It's not all passive, but it's a large part passive, and the point is if you know how the bigger hedge funds work, they don't want risk.
Order partially.
They don't want. They get out of risk so fast. These funds are hilarious. Read anything about Millennium or, and look, it's worked for them, so I'm not dissing it. It's not the way I trade, but there's a reason these guys are managing more money and they're richer than God. The second they're down on a stock, they get out. Yeah, BlackRock and Fidelity are not hedge funds. Well, they want performance too, but they don't want risk. They don't want vol. So ultimately, these shitty companies, and I'm not necessarily lumping GameStop in there, But these really shitty companies like NWBO or like any of these other just like turds that retail like, it's not that hedge funds are hurting these companies. It's that there's none of the longs want to buy it. None of the $40 trillion of long only money looks at it and is like, yeah, we're not fucking touching that. $40 trillion of long only money, and you can't get anybody to buy your stock. Sad. The hedge funds or whatever. Dark pools, it didn't make a difference. Not yet, Michael. Soon. I don't think there's much going to happen on IonQ's earnings, but I could be wrong. I mean, they have to talk about guidance and stuff like that, and it's going to be hard for them to guide to very much. I mean, the product doesn't do anything. So they put guidance out, and like, how are they going to substantiate their valuation? I mean, no matter what guidance looks like, it's going to be hard to look at guidance and say, oh yeah, I really want to own this stock. When the revenue numbers, what could they possibly say to get Wall Street excited? Let me see here. Let me consult this secret source I have. Okay, so Wall Street's saying 2025 will be 83 million in revenue. Well, IonQ gave some kind of So what will, unless IonQ says they're going to do 100 in revenue, even then, I'm not sure that's going to do the trick, but when did they announce this? Was it towards the end of... They made like a little public statement that their business was doing well. I thought it was like the beginning of the year. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Jan 10th. Yeah. So unless they throw out 100 million, the street is at 83 million, which I don't know how they hit that.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
So unless it's higher than that, the stock's going to get cracked. Now they could lie and say they'll do 100 million, but the stock's gone up so much that they have to do 100 million. And if the quarterly result is like, let's say the quarterly result is 14 million, how are they going to, or 10 million, 10, 11 million? How are they going to go from 11 million in one quarter to 25 million, which is what 100 requires you to do? Yeah, I think we should short more. Listen, it's all about the revenue. If they can't put up the revenue and get the customers, it's over. It's not a baby valuation anymore. If it's a baby valuation, it's like, okay, let's see how the technical achievements go. Like Rigetti can kind of get away with that. Rigetti's revenue is a little less important. But IonQ has to put up numbers. It's 100 times sales, right? $7.5 billion market cap. So even if they guide to 100 in revenue, which there's no possible way they do 100 in revenue, they just lie and say we're going to do 100 in revenue. Why are you paying 75 times revenue? Usually companies don't do an offering at earnings, usually.
Order filled. Order cancelled. Order filled.
I like this short better now. because earnings kind of separate, the pretenders from the contenders. I mean, they don't have a good earnings. I mean, how are you going to really? So last year's Q4 was the 28th. So that's probably next week, right? Did they announce the date yet? They haven't even announced the date. Okay, they announced it the 26th. The next Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's going to be rough. They've already told us they're going to have a good quarter, but how are they going to give guidance that's reasonable? Anything less than 100, the stock will probably sell off because the stock's up so much they can't. They give just what the street expects. The street's expecting 80. But the problem is their last quarter they're going to do 11. So they'd have to go up from 11 a quarter to 20 a quarter. And they're probably not going to do that in one shot. So they're going to probably do, if they can go to like 12 or 13 or 14. But then the next quarters have to be even bigger to hit the 80 number. So I think there's a good short earnings. Yeah, the street numbers are way too high. But the thing about Wall Street is like, when the street numbers have to go down, usually the stock goes down too. There's no penalty, but just like,
order partially filled. Order filled.
when the street loses trust that management's, can grow, that's usually a really nice short. All right, let's go back to work here. And if they guide to 70, again, you're gonna have to ask yourself, why am I paying 100 times sales for this company? And the sales are like pretty shaky. Like the sales are they're not really product sales. They're like kind of these wishy-washy contracts that may or may not come back that are super low margin. So I think most people, I think that's going to keep happening. Like those, when CFOs look at their balance sheet and they see the IonQ, whether it's Amazon or whatever, and they say, well, why do we own this thing? Should we sell this? It's up a lot, John. Don't you think we should get out? Like, yeah, let's get out. It's really interesting. I think BlackRock basically had to buy a ton of IonQ because basically its market cap went up. So they basically had to buy. No human being said, I want to buy. It's just that the actual, because the market cap went up and it's an indices, they had to buy more. And now I think we're going to see the opposite occur. See if there are any institutions that bought. Susquehanna bought a little bit. The Chevy Chase people bought. She's been talking on TV about it. But I think it's going to be a baggie. The rest are all kind of quants that bought it. I don't see anybody with a brain that bought it. Let's look at Rigetti. It's funny, Bessemer Bessemer was a VC investor in Rigetti. They dumped it. Mostly quants that added to the stock, and they're gonna sell on the way out. But yeah, Deere sold Deere sold their whole position. That's kind of nuts. I just looked this up because I wanted to check. Somebody in the comments said Deere sold all their stock, and I was like, no way. And yeah, all the 13Fs came out. I don't pay attention to Deere management. That's like some shitty little thing. But absolutely, let me show you guys in a second. Zoom in a little bit, but it's not cooperating. Well, yeah, Deere sold 21 million shares. So they basically said we're not DEERE, but DEER. And then a couple of other funds just got out completely. So I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting situation to say the least. Yep.
So